Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So there's a new poll that came out the other day, and this is for 2026, and it actually shows that not only are Republicans winning, but they're winning the generic ballot by 8 percentage points, which is absolutely huge, especially because you have a midterm year where you have Donald Trump in the White House. Usually midterm years, even if a president is slightly popular, they tend to go against the party in power. But could we be seeing something different this time around? Well, let me clarify that this is a poll that is taken in the first week or two of the presidential term. There is a long time between now and 2026, and some people might point to the fact that Trump could even get more popular as he's on an upward trajectory, and that past political norms don't typically apply to Trump, and that's also true. Or people could point to the fact that this poll is a right-leaning pollster, even though they did nail the 2020 presidential election. They said Trump would win the popular vote by 2. He won it by 1.5. That's relatively close. It's not really a awful pollster by any means compared to the reputation that it typically gets from the election mafia types. But still, either way, I don't expect Republicans to be able to go out there and win the generic ballot by 8 points. But I did think that we would kind of look at the election maps for 2026 and kind of see what would the best case scenario be for Republicans. Could you have a Donald Trump-led red wave, even a realistic one? Well, we're going to dive into it and look at the maps, and we're going to see if we can fill these out and kind of see what the best case scenario could be. Now, let me preface and say that this is not a prediction video. This is not what I predict will happen. It is what I predict could happen if things go right for Donald Trump. He has a high approval rating. You see some economic recovery. The vision of the average American's view of the economy improves, and let's say he's able to kind of settle some of these conflicts going on across the globe. Let's just say he's popular. He's fulfilling a lot of his promises. He's fulfilled many of them already, and you have a lot of people on the left that are whining about it, but he was elected in part to do what he's done up to this point, and they just can't see that. So this is the Senate map here. Kind of wanted just to fill this out. We'll fill out the safe states without really any explanation. States that would be going Republican by 10 points or more in the best case scenario. I think you would include Iowa and Ohio in that for 2026. For Republicans, look at that. They're already at 51. Democrats don't even really have a pathway, because even in the best case scenario for them, I really don't see any of these flipping. And then on the Democrat side, yeah, they're going to win Oregon, Delaware, Rhode Island, Massachusetts by more than 10 percentage points. Probably, honestly, a state like Colorado at this stage in the game, given the way that Colorado has moved. But then you get into some of these more competitive states, competitive races, and that's where it really looks bleak for Democrats, because if you want to talk about a path to retake the Senate at all in the future, they're going to need to at least gain seats and then run the table in the swing states in 2028. And it's unlikely that that is going to happen, especially in a best case scenario, because you would have Tom Tillis hold on, regardless of whoever his opponent's going to be. You would see John Ossoff go down. Brian Kemp, I'm not a fan of him, but he's likely going to run. He's likely going to win the primary and probably the general as well. And you do get to knock off a Democrat for a senator in a swing state seat, basically, whether you like him or not. And then you have Susan Collins up in Maine. She's probably going to win. I don't know by what margin, but it doesn't seem like any of these strong recruits are going to run against her. You saw that in 2020. It blew up in their faces. Democrats, of course, are going to try to act like she's some far-right senator, despite being one of the most moderate or weakest Republicans in the Senate. Doesn't really matter to them, but still, Maine is Maine. Maine likes her. She's probably going to win. I do think Democrats are going to hold on in New Mexico, in Virginia. I don't think Youngkin is going to run. It could be somewhat close. It just depends. The Virginia Republican Party is getting better. New Jersey, it's going to be interesting to see because the state has turned a massive corner, but still, I just don't think it's ready in these down ballot races. The governor's race, we'll get to that in a minute. And Illinois, I still think would go in the Democrat column, probably in the safe blue column. But Minnesota, maybe it gets a little bit closer. Maybe you could see it within 5 in a best case. And then we get to Michigan and New Hampshire. Could Republicans get to 56 Senate seats when they've already expanded their majority with Trump in the White House? Well, it's unclear. I don't think they get both of them. Scott Brown's a strong recruit. I still think he would fall short. But I do think that Pete Buttigieg is likely going to be the Democrat nominee, and I think he's very beatable in the state of Michigan, where he's not even from. He moved there a couple years ago. Awful candidate all around. Democrats have massive competency issues on their hands. They have massive candidate quality issues. Everything they've said about the Republicans, which I'm not saying that Republicans have been the most competent, but it's becoming true for them. So the best case scenario would be the Republicans hold their own. They pick up Georgia, and then they pick up Michigan because Democrats decided to just, completely destroy themselves by A, not getting Gary Peters to run for re-election, and B, allowing Pete Buttigieg to establish himself as the front runner when he's an awful candidate overall. So then we go to the governor's map, and I already filled out the governorships that are not going to be up in 2025 or 2026. The best case can definitely get a little bit lofty for Republicans here just because these are less polarized races. You start off with New Jersey and Virginia. If Republicans go out there and win New Jersey, it's a New Jersey. Republicans are surging in the state. Donald Trump made New Jersey relatively competitive this cycle. Not a lot of people saw it coming, but Republicans, they got close in 2021 in New Jersey. And that was against an incumbent. This time it's an open seat. A lot of division on the Democrat side. If Republicans can unite behind a candidate that can win, they'll go out there and they'll have a shot to win it. Virginia's a little bit tougher because Abigail Spanberger, she's a CIA plant. She's got a lot of money, a lot of resources. She's leaving Congress so she could go replace Glenn Youngkin. Winsome Sears, she's lieutenant governor. I still think it's going to be really tough just because of who the opponent's going to be in Virginia. I really see it flipping, and maybe Youngkin will run again in 2029 and flip it back or something, but, I still think Democrats have got that one down. I could change my mind. If I had a best-case scenario in 2021, I might not have had Youngkin winning at this stage in the game, but still, we actually forgot to fill out, I believe, North Carolina. That one is not up until 2028. So then we have the deep red states that are not really going to be contested, not really going to be all that competitive. We could fill some of those out there: Nebraska, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee, Alabama, South Carolina, Florida, and honestly, the state of Texas can all be in this column. Like Iowa may be likely Republican. Reynolds has lost some popularity. I don't know if she's going to run for it again. Ohio, it's going to be interesting to see how Vivek plays out, if he's going to be the nominee in Ohio. Not entirely sure what the margin would be, but Ohio is a red state now, so I think that one holds. I think Kansas flips back into the Republican column. And then on the flip side, I think you will see Democrats in California probably hold on. Maybe it's going to be closer, though. It's one to watch. Oregon might be a little bit closer. They're not big fans of their governors, but they always win by single digits in the state of Oregon. Maryland, I think, will be safe in the Democrat column. I think Colorado probably is going to be safe, maybe close to likely in a best-case scenario. Republicans are not flipping the state of Colorado. They will hold on in Alaska. That much is true. I believe that in Vermont, they'll probably hold. New Hampshire, Ayotte's going to hold in that state there. And then we can kind of close in on some of the more competitive races. I think Democrats probably end up holding on in Rhode Island, holding on in Connecticut, Massachusetts as well. That one should be in the safe column. So there's really 11 of these states, and already Republicans, if you look at where they are right now, they're already at 26. They have a majority of states in their column, and there's plenty of states on the map they could pick up. I think Maine is going to hold for the Democrats, especially if Jared Golden runs for it. He's a strong candidate. He probably will win against any opponent, but again, the fact that he's winning that race means that his congressional seat opens up and it probably flips Republican, which is good. And he also doesn't take on Collins, which means Republicans are going to have an easier time in that race. So it would be a win if he did run for governor. And then you have New York. I actually could see New York flipping. I think Hochul is very unpopular. There was a poll that came out that showed that her approval rating is like in the 30s in the state. And if Republicans can find some palatable candidate to New York that could still get the base out while, getting out some of the more anti-Hochul, like moderate types in like Westchester County and upstate New York, I think you could see New York's governorship flip into Republican hands, assuming Hochul wins the primary, which in a best case scenario for Republicans, she would. I think Josh Shapiro is overrated, but he's an incumbent governor with an approval rating over 50. I don't really think he's going to lose. Illinois probably stays in Democrat hands as well. So you look at those two states, 27-16. Michigan, you could see Republicans win Michigan just because Mike Duggan, the popular, more like centrist mayor of Detroit, is running as an independent. He is not seeking the Democrat nomination. You could see a three-way race. I think Michigan could be a pickup. Obviously, I think Georgia would be a hold. I think New Mexico, just because Trump's in the White House, maybe if the wave's strong enough, it's an open seat, Republicans could pick it up, but the Republican Party of New Mexico is just not quite there. But I think Lombardo would win easily in Nevada. I think that in Arizona, you very possibly, could see a Republican flip just because Katie Hobbs is not popular and because Republicans have gained a ridiculous amount of voters in terms of the registration since 2022 took place, and there's no signs of it slowing down. So that leaves Minnesota and Wisconsin. Is Tim Walz going to run for it again? Not entirely sure, but Minnesota is beyond cooked, even in a best-case scenario, and Walz's popularity tanking. I still think Minnesota is going to stay in Democrat hands. Then you have the state of Wisconsin. Evers going for a third term. Beating an incumbent governor is extraordinarily difficult. If you're talking about like a wave scenario or a best case scenario, is it possible that Republicans could go out there and win it? Yeah, if they win the Supreme Court seat in April, which is a whole nother discussion, I'd be more confident in their ability to go out there and win it. I think in a best case scenario, you run a strong candidate. Evers has got approval ratings that aren't ridiculously good, but still decent. It's really tough, but I guess in a best case scenario, you could say Wisconsin could go red. So already you look at how many seats they flipped. They traded Virginia for New Jersey and then would have picked off Arizona, Kansas, Wisconsin, and obviously Michigan, and then New York, which all that's plausible. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but if everything goes right, is it on the table? Yes, it's absolutely on the table. Now, I don't have a full house prediction, but this is the swing map. And I think what this would entail for Republicans is if they went out there and in terms of redistricting in Ohio, you would see them basically get the 9th, the 13th in their column as well, which this map does show. And you kind of see what's going on here. These seats are probably the ones that are going to go red. Democrats obviously have a lot more work to do, but still there's a lot more seats in this map that lean more Democrat that aren't filled out. So I will say that Republicans definitely have a path to go out there and hold the House. Now, I think this really depends on what the House does over the next 2 years. If Trump's approval rating is high, but also congressional approval rating is low, it's a little bit more difficult to inspire voters, even Trump diehards, to go out there and end up voting for these Republicans in an off-year election. But is it possible for them to go out there and regain the House? Absolutely, I would say that it is. It just depends on how do they do the mid-decade redistricting in Ohio. Are they able to do it anywhere else? Because if so, I can think of 10 more seats that they could go out there and win. And if they were able to do that, then already you would see them holding, or I guess you would say, holding, if not expanding, their House majority. So I think that in the best-case scenario, you're not going to see a ridiculous wave on either side. If Democrats have their best case, they'll have the House, but it's not going to look like it did probably even after 2018. Maybe it would look like it did after 2022, but reverse. Just because you have states that are doing their redistricting in a more polarizing fashion, red states are doing it more favorably to their side, blue states are doing it more favorably to their side. Texas might even do it again, which is going to be interesting because that could honestly almost guarantee Republicans at least have a much higher floor. We're talking about like 211 out of the gate. So if they do that, we'll see what happens. But if you want to just like reset it to the competitive seats or whatever, even then, 198 out of the gate to 169, you would rather be the Republicans in a neutral environment for sure, just based on the seats that are out there and the way that some of them are trending. A lot of Democrats, they did gerrymanders, but they've honestly backfired. And we saw that in places like New Jersey in 2024. The question is, can Republicans get out these lower propensity voters to vote for them without Trump on the ballot? I don't think they're going to do it as well, but if they can do it enough, then they're going to hold their own. They probably will. If Trump is somewhat popular, maintains popularity, hold the House, add governorships, which the map is very favorable for them, and as well as the Senate. Add Senate seats as well. It's very possible. I don't think they're going to win the generic ballot by 8. There's 12% undecided in this poll. But even if they can get close to even with Donald Trump in the White House, that's absolutely huge. It would be an asterisk midterm. It would be basically history making. It would buck all the historical trends and norms. Nobody's really done that but Donald Trump. But can he get it done next year? Well, there's a long time to go, but I did want to make this video because I found this poll interesting. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.